Hello there, welcome to the next installment in this series creating a Pathfinder 2nd Edition adventure in Foundry Virtual Tabletop. This is of course the Strife and Grimbone adventure. I must apologise for the slightly long hiatus. It's got nothing to do with me being busy creating content for my adventuring group, who are 15th level now and nearly finishing this whole adventure path, of which Strife and Grimbone is but the start. So we will log in without further ado. And this scene reminds us that, by way of recap, last time we did a deep dive into the depths of tile layers and visibility, so that players would be navigating their way through a scene under trees, over bridges, and once they get inside a tower there, if you mouse over the tower, they see the interior of the tower. In the story, they had been exploring the Grimbone forest and had come across a sign that led them along a path to a tower that was supposed to be an inn for weary travellers. We'll go to the journal now, the Tower Inn, and this is the content we created. We finished last time at the description of the tower nestled in this gorge within the forest. So let's continue from there on my written sheets. I'll move this over here, and then the editable version we'll put next to it there. Scroll down to the bottom. If the PC search the walls of the tower, they see no windows nor hear any signs of occupants. Behind the tower, against the cliffed wall, is a pile of trash. Over there. Bits of rotting vegetables, masonry, ash from spent fires, broken pots, and the like. However, a careful search among the trash, Perception DC 15, reveals a number of broken and scorched bones, all humanoid. So we need to do a perception check here. So if we can't remember how to do these things, we can just go to one we've done before and do a bit of cutting and pasting. Copying and pasting. PC DC 15. So check, type perception. I think we maybe I prefer lowercase for that. DC is not 1 but 15. Search is what we see as the type of action that we're using the perception check on, and we want to keep it secret. Save that, scroll down to our version, and there we go to nice pink for secret perception check. If we press that, as a reminder, we see a little exclamation mark in our chat messages that we've been up to skeleton guards in the last adventure, and here we are, an invitation to make a DC 15 perception check. So if, as the game master I roll, I need to select a token. Checking the iron-bound door reveals it to be unlocked. It swings open easily. And do a bit of formatting here. Some horizontal lines, select this. And we'll put it into block quote. Just make it look nice. And that will update there. As the players come along here and open the door, you can have a player. Who should we have now? Riziel. So Riziel comes through the door, sees inside, and the description ensues. Despite the welcoming signpost, the single room of the tower is in a somewhat ruined condition. It is only by the glow of a small fire under a bubbling pot on the far side of the curving tower wall. Yet there is a warm carpet in the centre of the floor, and the surrounding bare stone tiles, though rough and worn, are neatly swept clean. A number of small but comfortable looking beds line the walls, just enough for the number of players in the party, if it happened to be 6 players. So this is obviously an adventure for 4 to 6 players. On the inside latch of the door hangs another sign in the same script. We need to show this sign, don't we? So there's a gap and another line. And this is the bit where we hope that we had actually put the image file in the right folder. So we'll go to our folder. We go to user data, modules, Strife and Grimbone walkthrough module, assets, images, and we can't quite see, we'll just have little thumbnails. I think it's going to be that one. Insert. Yes. The sign says, so we can save that, and as usual, click in there, show the players, that'll appear in their screens, they can close it as can I. The proprietrix is currently unavoidably detained elsewhere. Make yourselves comfortable and enjoy the broth. There is a key in the lock on the inside of the door that you may use for your own security in this dangerous forest. Please make a payment of 1 silver piece in the jar to your left. There. If she has not returned by morning. So fantastic! A safe place to rest in this dangerous forest. We don't need to worry about random encounter tables and wandering monsters. Or will it be completely safe? Then we describe, there is indeed a small empty jar sitting on a shelf on the wall just next to the door. Inside the bubbling pot is cooking a vegetable broth. It appears to be nearly ready to eat. But here comes the reveal. However, the whole arrangement is a trap for the unwary, set by a green hag. I think we'll change this to forest hag. We don't want to get sued by Hasbro. Because green is copyrighted by Hasbro. A forest hag whose lair is under the tower. Eating the broth or simply inhaling its fumes while it simmers on the fire for a significant period induces a deep sleep when the PCs rest for the night. That is when the hag comes up from the secret door in the floor to attack. If the PCs specifically search the floor, rather than just for treasures lying around the tower room, they may find the secret trapdoor with a successful DC perception roll. The means of opening is obvious once found. This leads to the hag's cellar area. A successful alchemical law check or poison law check will reveal the vegetable stew to be laced with a sleeping draught. A detect magic check will reveal magic on the pot's contents. So we've got quite a lot of stuff to do here. Let's first things first, the search. So again, we can do a bit of cutting and pasting. It's an identical DC, and it's an identical action using an identical skill. So we didn't need to do much editing there. Yep. The means of opening is obvious once found. But it's not obvious to create this in Foundry VTT. We want something dramatic where the players will actually see a trapdoor appear if they didn't find it already, and be startled in their sleep by the sound of it opening. Alternatively, they might find the door and they can open it themselves. But either way, it's going to be nice actually to see a trapdoor. And this is what we're going to attempt to do today using tiles and macros. First introduction of macros. So we'll close that for now to give ourselves some space. So I think first thing is we'll select the macros, the tiles. So we go into our tiles tab there. We want it to be in the background because it's on the floor, so we don't click foreground layer, that's foreground, background now. And again, it's a case of here's what I prepared earlier. Go to our, we're in Strife and Grimbone walkthrough modules, and then walkthrough module, and then we'll go to the tiles and see here's what I created earlier. What I do is I create assets in Dungeon Alchemist, and if I just want a tile, I take an export of Dungeon Alchemist, a JPG, and then just in my paint.net I cut out the bit that I want, save it as a WebP, and now I've got my tile, and I know it's going to be size equivalent, and you know, if there's a bit cut over, it's actually going to fit nicely with the interior. So we'll drag it out here, and it's too big because I did it in 300 dots per inch instead of 150. So we'll select that and shrink it down, and then we've got an open one. So I just did two exports, one with the tile in the closed position on the animation in Dungeon Alchemist, one in the open position, and I painted it black in paint.net because I didn't want a bit of carpet to be seen when the trapdoor is open. So we'll put at least one of them in here. One of the issues with tiles in Foundry VTT is that it's not very easy to select them when they're on top of one another. There is a module which we might end up downloading called Tile Sort, which will help us. But for now, we will just not put them one on top of the other until we're ready to do so. So those are our tiles. Now we want to create the macro. So you may not have noticed, but it should really be along here. But there's another kind of type of asset in the world which is called macros. And if we look at that arrow, that's just making our hotbar disappear or reappear. But obviously things in the hotbar are essentially macros, or at least macros can be put in them. But if we click that folder there, which I really think should belong over there, and I think in the next edition of Foundry VTT will. Anyway, we go into here, we browse the macros directory. So if we want to be exporting our module, we want to be exporting the macros as well as everything else. And it's easier to do so if we create a folder. So we'll create a folder there, and we'll call it Strife and Grimbone. And then within here we're going to create our first macro. So we can create a folder and then a macro within the folder. I think that's what that does. Maybe I'll create a macro. I'm going to call it trapdoor, tower trapdoor. And we've got two types. We've got scripts, which are proper macros with JavaScript, and then chats, which is kind of a halfway house between coding and normal text. Oh, here's where we put it in the Strife and Grimbone folder there. Create the macro. Tower trapdoor. Now, you can go off now and learn JavaScript, and so can I. But luckily, here's what I prepared earlier, and we'll talk through this macro. So the best way to find macros is to go on to Foundry VTT Discord, and there's a subsection of that where it's lots of very helpful people telling you how to create macros. They'll often, if you have a specific request, they'll often answer it within seconds and give you some code, or you can look up questions that people have asked before, and the answers are often there. So we'll paste it into our script, and what this is doing is just setting an updates array. Then we want to set an object tile, define an object tile1, which I think will be our open tile appearance, and tile 2, which would be our closed trapdoor appearance. Then if the tile is hidden, i.e. invisible to the players, we will make it non-hidden, and then we will make the other tile hidden. Even if it's already hidden, it'll be hidden. So then either the open trapdoor or the closed trapdoor will be visible. They start off both invisible. And then we want a sound, and there's two ways of creating sound. You can switch on a sound object within the scene, or you can just play a sound that's its own file. And I think for a brief sound, it's better to just have your own file. That's where all the players, wherever they are going to be able to hear it, because it's a dramatic event, and we don't have issues with trying to switch off something that you switched, a looping thing which you switched on, and then you might need another script to switch it off later. So we have to select the directory, modules, Strife and Grimbone walkthrough module, assets, add a sounds subdirectory, and then a trapdoor open file. I have to put in the MP3. We set the volume, 5 is pretty loud. Loop, we don't want it looping all the time, we just want it once, otherwise we'll never get it to stop. And then if it was not hidden, if that open trapdoor tile was already visible, then we do the opposite. We make it invisible, we make the closed trapdoor tile visible, and we play a closing sound. And at the end we have to update the documents, update the tiles to actually show what's happened. We need to identify the tiles, and the way we do that is we take the open one first. If we double click on it and we click there, it's copying the document ID into the clipboard, and then if we just paste it in there, it's giving us the unique ID of the scene, and it's giving us the unique ID of the tile. We want the tile 1. That's going to be tile 1, which is the open one. Put it in there, and we can delete that again. And while we're here, why don't we make this tile invisible? That's how it starts. And this tile, double left click, copy the ID, paste it, there's the tile ID. Oh, undo, should have put it in there for tile 2. You see they've got different IDs. The scene is probably the same, should be the same. So now what we've done is we've correctly identified the tiles. The sound is an asset that's in our folder anyway, so that's already correctly identified. And by some miracle, if we test it, it should work. So now we'll put this one over here. So for the GM, we see a kind of misty version of these tiles. If we were a player, even when you're the GM selecting as a player, you see a misty version. If we were the player, this would be completely invisible, as it should be. So we will then execute the macro, and I'm dreading doing it because it probably won't work. There you go, it works. You heard the opening sound, and now it's bright and visible. And then if we click it again, it closes, because we can see the two tiles overlaying one another, and there's that strong dark bit of the open tile, we kind of see them shadowed, but I think the player will just see the closed trapdoor. So when the trapdoor is not identified, they're both invisible, and then once it's identified, you would click the macro, to get it open, and then once it closes again, because you know it's there, we'll just do it visible. Okay, it should really be looking like the background tiles, but it just brings it out to the players, and now they've identified it. But it's already well doing that. There's a quicker way than just executing the macro like that. Let's save it. So that's our test one and the tower trapdoor one. If we close this, go back to our journal. We need that, so put it there. Editing journal. So here we are. Create a bit of a line here. And then we say to open and close the trapdoor, click the macro, or click the blank macro, and then we drag this here. Save it. Look, it's something that we can click just from the journal, and I like to make these stand out. So we have block quote. We can just use secret thing. I like to use secret thing. I mean, we don't really need the reveal, but it just makes it stand out that whenever we got macros, it's in this background, and when we got readout text, it's in that format. So hopefully it should work just from here without needing to go into macros. So if you're a GM who's not familiar with creating modules, just running them, you don't need to dive into the macros. You just see the journal, and to open and close the trapdoor, click the tower trapdoor macro. So we've dealt with that, and then we're on searching or investigating the broth here. So we will open up the editor. Do some cutting and pasting of our checks. Skill check here. Or alchemical, I think that's the way to do it. And it'll be like a recall knowledge. Or we'll just call it an investigate. Action. And let's make it secret. We don't know if they're going to be successful or not. Recall knowledge is usually, investigation is usually secret. Or poison law. Or really, it's a crafting check, isn't it? And we'll set this DC to 10. That's 15. Let's see what this looks like. So what I would do is, if by some miracle the player or PC had a law for alchemical crafting or law for poison, I would give them those low DC 10 ones. If they've got crafting, I might make it DC 15, but if it's, or I might make it DC 15 if they've got crafting, alchemical crafting, but if they've got any kind of crafting or they're untrained, I would probably give them like a 5 penalty or a 4 penalty to make it DC 20 if they just got general crafting, and we could do that manually. Otherwise, if the PCs ate any of the stew, or if they remain here for an hour, inhaling the aroma, each must make a DC 20 fortitude save versus poison. So check type fortitude. Sorry, I'm sneezing. And that DC was 20, wasn't it? So I just double check. Yeah. We want them to be poisoned. I don't think we'll give it a name. I'll give it a poison trait, so that if someone's got a bonus to save versus poisons, they will have an advantage. So we'll test that out, I think. So we're inviting people to make a saving throw. And it's just fortitude, so we don't know what it's for. And it's a secret one, so Rizziel failed. Hopefully that should do the trick. Failing the save means that after an hour of resting, sleeping PCs will fall into deep slumber with no chance of waking from the hag's entry. So we want a deep slumber effect, don't we? So we'll go to our trusty compendium pack, look up sleep, we've got the sleep spell, so probably we'll find it through the sleep spell. But let's just see if there's an effect here. Whoops. No, it's because sleep is really a combination of unconscious and prone. When it's the low-level sleep, it's just they stand prone. They stand while they're sleeping, for some reason. And only the advanced one is it more useful in combat, and then they're prone. So we'll go to the sleep spell. There we are. Creature that falls unconscious from this spell doesn't fall prone, but we'll make it the nasty one where they do fall prone. So we'll drag the unconscious trait directly from here. Filling the slave will fall into deep slumber. Unconscious and prone. And we'll drag unconscious here. And we'll drag prone here. And we'll get rid of the names. Let's see what that looks like. Yep, unconscious and prone, we can just drag those onto the player and unconscious. This is awkward, isn't it? It's got all those effects. We don't want to do that to humans here. In fact, if you could do unconscious here, it's got prone applied by unconscious, so actually we don't need the prone. In fact, if it was the light sleep, they should actually have it taken off. So we don't need that. Any PCs on watch will similarly fall asleep if they fail to save. Those who pass will remain awake or sleep normally if sleeping at the time. -4 perception check if you're normally sleeping versus the hag stealth check as she's about to open the trapdoor. An awake PC will easily detect the opening of the trapdoor by the hag and will roll perception for initiative. It takes one interact action to wake a magically sleeping adjacent PC by nudging or shaking. Magical healing or damage will also wake PCs. So the next thing we do is, if this in fact happens and combat ensues, we obviously need to set up a combatant. Now let's look up hags. So we've got lots of hags. We've got a green hag, which is a pre-legacy, pre-remaster. That's level 4. And we've got, these are too powerful. And then we've got a, if we go to monster core, a sweet hag is the equivalent of the green hag. I think what we'll do is a combination of these two, and maybe the weak green hag sounds about right for us. But let's have a look at getting our custom designed creature. So we'll take the one that is fairly close, and I think it'll be the green hag. So the green hag, their abilities are sound imitation and enfeebling humours, which I believe sickens. It enfeebles creatures for quite a long time. So the idea of the green hag is that they can shape into a more innocent form, and they can start fondling someone and giving them enfeebling humours, which will be debilitating them for some time. They could also do sort of audible glamour, for want of a non-first edition D&D expression. Mimic the sounds of any animal to sort of lure people to her lair. And then she can also exhale a miasma, which does the same effect of enfeebling humours. Oh, what's betraying touch? Yeah, that's what I was referring to. If you don't realise the hag is an enemy, you take a penalty to a saving throw versus the enfeebling humours. The sweet hag, which is the remaster version, as I said, because green is copyrighted by Hasbro, but sweets aren't, luckily. And they got the betraying touch, and instead of the enfeebling humours, we got enfeeble. It's the same thing, isn't it? They're just giving it a different thing. It's because they're dreaming of eating delicious sweets. But when I first created this module, I adapted the green hag to be almost like the sweet hag predicting what Paizo did, but instead of sweets, she was enticing them with the vegetable broth. So this time, what we will do is use the sweet hag, but make it vegetable broth instead of sweets. And we say poison candy. Well, it could be a sweet treat, but in this case, it would be the broth. So we've got going to variant to the sweet hag. We're going to import it, and suddenly it appears there. We want it to go in our creatures folder, so we'll drag it there, and we want to adapt it. So we want to make it weak, creature 3. The reason why I do this is that I originally intended it to be a hard encounter, so there would be a reward, i.e. you can rest somewhere safe in the forest. But it could be the second encounter the PCs ever have. They may have been ambushed by those feeble bandits, bypassed the skeletons and gone straight to the tower. And I'm not sure that second ever encounter, creature level 3, we'd know that single powerful creatures are notorious in Pathfinder 2nd edition for causing one-shot kills. We could have a TPK on our hands, more likely than not, depending on how the dice rolls go. So I think it might be prudent to make it just 2 levels above the character level, creature level 3. It could still be a very tough fight. So we've got reduced hit points, normal class, and then we're just going to edit the candy cane bit. Well, let's start editing this. We're going to call it a forest hag. And say it's uncommon. It is size medium, a big medium. And what we're going to edit this. What should we call it? Twig Strike Claw. But it has the same things. Soporific Touch, Poison Candy, Poison Broth. This week had the Forest Hag. Oh, we have to edit this as well. The Forest Hag cast an 8 spell on a piece of food, typically a nice vegetable broth. Save. And let's take the coven thing out because it's not going to be part of a coven. And let's see what spells she's got. Well, some constant spells. Let's look at the actual spells. Daze, Figment, Light, Message, Charm, Cleanse, Cuisine. Well, she's not going to do that in this adventure. Let's just get rid of it. Spider Sting. That sounds nice. Create Food. Sweets only. Well, we'll just change it to. Should we edit that? Invisibility. Shall we have invisibility in our second combat? Yeah, why not? Laughing Fit. I don't think it fits the character. She's got enough abilities already. Shrink. Can't see why she's going to use that this combat. Sleep. And 5th rank true speech, well, that's probably going to be the constant one, so she can understand any language. Coven spells, let's get rid of all the coven spells. Control weather, well, she's going to need a coven for a ritual. Okay, there we go. So that's a little bit more manageable for a new GM, and that list of spells, and then we'll talk about the tactics. So we need a picture, don't we? Oh, right, go right up to modules. Strife Grimbone walkthrough module, assets, tokens. So I'd gone into Microsoft AI image generator and created, found a forest hag there. So that's a nice original image there. And that's our forest hag. But as part of the story, there's the option to find the hag in different circumstances, in circumstances where she's already disguised as someone else. In fact, maybe you better make sure she has a disguise ability. Yeah, she's got change shape. So I think we'll just duplicate the tile. Forest hag disguised. And I'd got another image there of the herbalist lady. Now for these things, we've done the portraits, we need to make tiles. So we use the lovely tokenizer module to create a tile. Don't want blank background, we want our own thematic frame, don't we? Well, she's a forest creature, so we have a dark green, and it could be a little bit fey. That looks quite fey, doesn't it? Do we have any other darker green? Sort of a fey kind of thing. And we'll get rid of that. Unlock it to change the size. Nice, as in not nice. And then we're going to do the same for the disguised one. Same frame. Use avatar image. Get rid of that. Swap the order around. We need to expand it to get rid of the sides of the picture, so that looks nice, doesn't it? They're not gonna... I think she's gonna betray them, are they? Okay. So we've got to here where there's a potential for combat with the hag. Some of the party may be asleep, magically asleep or otherwise. We'll create a line for a break and another line, and then we'll insert the creature in here. Horrible. As usual, we will do some combat tactics. So we'll go forest, hag, tower combat. Heading 2. That at the end. So her tactics, I think that she will. Let's have a look at her and choose her tactics. So sorry to spend so long thinking and reading. I'm thinking, what do you think would be good tactics? Do you think she should attack them invisibly to make it really horrible? She's got invisibility, which is second rank. Well, I'm wondering, invisibility at will. So presumably she can just spend 2 actions to do it. If she uses a hostile action, she will become visible again. But then can spend another 2 actions to become invisible. So I think she should do that. I think she should. It lasts 10 minutes. She would sneak up invisibly, and it might be even more scary for the players to see for the PCs to see the trapdoor opening up, and there's no one, and they just maybe hear some noises, or they see a disturbance in the dust. Or a movement of on the carpet as an invisible creature is stalking their sleeping companions. So that would be our tactic. And then when I think she will not do sleep because she's already done it, so it's a bit boring to have multiple sleep saving throws. And then she can use her soporific touch attached to the melee claw. So this combat, she's going to be using invisibility, and then she might cast a day. She'll do a charm on one, and then a day, something like that. What's the range on Spider Sting? Touch. And what does it actually do? 1d4 piercing. Enfeebled, more enfeebling. The forest hag will cast upon self and creep up through the trapdoor. I said she has a stealth check as +9. Less than so she's stealth is +9. Less than a DC 19 on their perception. Will not know she is there and simply see the trapdoor opening of its own accord. Otherwise, they see the telltale sign of foot print pressing upon the carpet, or the sinister sound of heavy breathing. But the hag remains hidden, so it's DC 11 check to hit them, but at least they know which square to hit. We should clarify the hag will become visible when taking a hostile action. She may start with a spider sting and follow up with melee attacks combined with soporific strike. When she's winning, she uses non-lethal attacks to finish off the PCs. She wants to capture them and drag them down to a cellar, both the sleeping and the waking ones, to have a wicked way with them. So let's find out what that wicked way is exactly, shall we? So what we need to do next is do the tower basement. So we will create a new scene by Mirazil. Go into our scenes tab in Ashwood, another scene, and it's going to be tower basement. We will set a background image. Scenes, and the one I had created earlier is a WebM. So this is a move. The whole background is a movie file, not a picture. I did this because it's a very small area and it's nice to have the animation of the bubbling pot. And also, when I created this one, Dungeon Alchemist, I used limited 3D perspective. If you have too big an area, the perspective starts distorting the shape of the tiles, if you have a grid I should say. But I think with a very small area, there's not much distance for the distortion to become too great, so you can get that nice 3D effect of the walls, which I'll show you now. So we selected that one. Our foreground should be 10 foot high. Then we're going to grid. Now I created this in high resolution, so 300 pixels. We don't want padding. And as usual, our solid lines are too thick, and we have a grey one. So I've already done a little thumbnail for us. We'll activate that, right click and activate. Here we are. So we've got our grid. It all looks nice. There's an animation here. We've got the ladder and various features in her basement, her alchemy there. And if we have our character, we'll use Mirazil again. But it's just flat, isn't it? And that doesn't look good, covering the ladder there. So we need to create walls. So as well as creating a picture, as well as creating the movie, I created a picture, and then in PaintNet, as I'd done before, I hollowed it all out, so just the walls remain, and that's going to be in a tile, and it's going to be a foreground tile, obviously. Select them, and here it is. Put that over there, and it looks pretty identical. That means we've done a good job. Or have we? Have we done it at all? Did that work? I don't think it worked. Let's drag it again. There it is. And we make it 85% opaque and doesn't fade. And now when Mariziel is in here, that skull-shaped candle holder is now over her, and the walls are over her as well. So that's nice. We'll work our way down. Have we done tiles? I don't think we need to do anything more with tiles. Oh, the ladder is over her as well. Next would be the walls. So we want to create walls around here. Normal walls. Don't need that. We don't want it to snap to the grid. So we'll start. It will go outside the grid, but I don't think it really matters. In fact, I don't think it matters at all. I'm trying to start at the grid, so I'll do keeping control in. It allows us to create ongoing lines. We'll just work our way along. Inserting now on the grid. Here I go. Is that done? And anything that should obscure vision, anything that should cast a shadow, maybe the table. Bring that back a bit. Another little baby one. There. I'm not sure if we should make the cauldron shadowed. I think it's going to obscure. Oh, why don't we have it obscured, because it is misty after all. So I'll just create a circle here of the cauldron. That's a terrible circle. Let's do that again. We'll follow the perimeter of the circle this time, of the cauldron this time. Whoops. This is not going well. Not perfect, but it'll do. It's only shadows after all. Now, I don't think we should have it obscuring. Whoops. Select, not create. I don't think we should have it obscuring sound. Let's have a look. Light restriction, none, because the light is diffused. Sound, diffuse, none. Don't like that. Now we'll have a look at Marizil again. So she's blocked off nicely. She can use the squares that we want her to use. See, she's behind the ladder, behind the bedstead there. And they can go into the cauldron square now. Turn the GM vision off so we can see her perspective a bit more. Reset fog of war. So I suppose we can have hiding behind cauldron shenanigans. And there's a bit of shadow on the table there. Good. That's our walls. Now our lights. So we want a little light here. And it would make it a ruddy red light. Maybe even a bit darker. And maybe we won't have a light animation. And then we've got some little red lights here. Maybe a bit bigger. And this one will be flickering. Copy it and paste it there. Are we in lights? Copied. Paste. 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 That's nice. There, and then we have the sound of the bubbling cauldron, which is similar to the one we've done upstairs. Maximum volume, we don't want to be too obtrusive, and select the file. Cooking pot. There we go, that's our scene there. And I think that we can call it a day there. We've covered a few different things. We've looked at macros for the first time. We've created another scene using a basic animation as a background, and we did a custom creature with custom artwork for our combat. And thanks very much for listening. Next time we're going to discover what happens in the basement of the tower and the alternative scenario where the hag caught all the PCs, captured them, and how they're going to escape. So thanks very much and bye.